All this week it's Brian Johnson. County Durham born, frontman of AC/DC for many, many years before that. He was a founding member of the rock band Geordie. And we'll hear all about his life and times. He's published a memoir called The Lives of Brian. So we'll hear about his life as we go through this week. And he chooses his favourite songs. The first of them is...
I was at home, had to be the 50s, I'd been to the dentist, so I was off school, and there was one channel on the TV, you know that, it was the BBC, black and white, and it was lunchtime, and the news had finished, and farming was going to start, but there was a 5-minute interlude. And if people remember that, there was usually a potter with his hands, or a fish. This wonderful voice came on, and today... for the first time, there's a young man from America who will sing his new pop single called Tutti Frutti. and I just saw this guy with this stunning swept back hair, beautiful jacket, thin tie. His eyes are obviously made up, I think, but he was and he opened his mouth and went, oh, that was it. I was just gone. And I think that was probably one of the most important songs I ever heard. It was just magnificent.
That seems to have been the case for quite a number of people. And as soon as they heard Little Richard, things changed.
Yep. Well, it was the voice. It was just this abandonment. All the things we'd heard on BBC with the Dickie Valentine show. And, it was all different. This freedom came out of nowhere. I just wanted to get out and hear it, but we didn't have a record player. So I heard it out of some lady's window, and I stood there and I banged on the window. I said, could you play it again, please? She was lovely. And she came to the front door and she went, hey, you cheeky monkey. So you stay there. And she came out and she put it on again and she learned me the hand jive.
All right.
She did. She said, this is what you're doing.
So, youngsters nowadays have no idea what we're talking about.
I know.
But the hand jive, well, that was a major thing to learn at the time.
It was, me son, it was.
Right, next one is Steppenwolf, Born to be Wild. So why have you chosen this one?
Well, just starting in a small band then, we were all apprentices at C.A. Parsons. We all wanted to be in bands. It was the time of the Yardbirds and the Beatles coming and the Kinks and just the whole wonderful explosion. And we started a little one, we could try to do songs, but we kept running out of talent halfway through these songs. We weren't that clever. And we heard this beautifully simple song, Born to be Wild, and it was easy to play and everything. And all the kids wanted to hear it. It was quite a cult song. And so we learned it, and we went on stage, and it even started to make us change our clothes. We saw clips of these guys from the West Coast and we want to be like that. We just kept on playing that song. It must have been about 4 or 5 years before somebody said, I think we've had enough of that. But yeah, I think it was very important because it was the first sort of getting away from the nice sweet stuff. It was punchy and it was rocky and it had everything for a young musician and band, So... and you could dance to it. The kid just, rocking, As I said, I was an apprentice, in Parsons, and every lunchtime, or dinner time as we call it, and the qualified guys would get the young apprentices like me, and they'd say, okay, get me 2 pies, 1 sausage sandwich, and you'd get the exact money, and then the bosses would let you out so you could stand in a line, and the cafe was called the Paddock. And there would be a line, and it had a jukebox in, and all the apprentices would stand there with a little list, to get the stuff for the boys. And I remember once we were standing there, and this song came on. It was Paranoid, Black Sabbath. And we were all, who's that? It just took over, and then everybody started scratching in their pockets for a sixpence. And I mean, we kept putting it on. And that was another one. As soon as I got back from work, I got a hold of the band. I said, we've got to learn this song. And that was little Ozzy. I keep thinking, I think me and Ozzy are about the same age. He must have been 13 when he did that one. I'm thinking back. But I think it was a great thing because it started this whole, I'm not a great fan of people calling heavy rock, hard rock, diddly-dee, daddle-a-dab. It's powerful rock and roll that, that people love to play and listen to. And I think Paranoid really was up there starting the whole Zeppelin, the Deep Purple thing. And I think it's an important song, and it really made an impression on me,
Now, the bands you were in at that time, this is pre-Geordie, before you go into Geordie. So these are mates around from work and from school?
Yeah, it's like you get friends together and just to form a band. Hey, let's start a band. And then they drop out, my girlfriend says, I cannot come to... right, get out of here. You can sort them out straight away, because, that's not going to work. And then you get the lads who really want to learn, want to get on stage and play some songs, to people. And it's exciting times, and these tunes stay with you.
Yeah.
Like Paranoid. And you felt quite proud on stage. All those bands, I think everybody learned how to play Paranoid and Born to Be Wild.
Right.
It had to be there.
Because the customers demanded it.
Yeah,
they wanted to hear those.
Yep. People wanted it.
Rolling Stones next, and Jumpin' Jack Flash is the one you've gone for.
Had to be. Can't be any other. I mean, of course, there's Brown Sugar. There's something about certain songs. There's no rhyme or reason why I picked that, except that riff was so infectious. The whole bit. The maracas,
just strutting around, yeah.
But Jumpin' Jack, I'm sorry, it's just that song. And I'll never forget that made me go out and buy a pair of maracas. Which my father said, "You have money, you could have got a couple of coconuts." And I said, "Well, that's what you are, Dad, really, basically." That's it.
Have you still got the maracas, by the
way? No. I don't know where they went.
Says, what a joy to hear Mr. Brian Johnson strikes of my ears. Proper chap, real deal, authentic fellow of talent, wit, experience and ability, and with the most lovely and listenable voice.
It was hard for me, little kid. I'd been in the choir and all this, and I was probably about 17, 18 and all, and I had this voice and I didn't know. Like other guys on stage were doing Rod Stewart voices, wake up, Maggie, and David Bowie voices. And they were getting all the gigs because they could copy the tunes. Bob Seger hadn't really come out yet, but that was about as close as I could get, which is what you wanted, because if you could do covers for the clubs, that's all the people wanted. They didn't want to hear, and here's an original song. They didn't want to hear something you'd written. They wanted to hear one new. And it was hard. I was going, but what the hell can I sing? And then, even though it was Black Dog was the first one I heard, and I remember the guys started rehearsing it, and I could sing up there.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I went, I can do this. This is great. And so we went on and started doing it, and it just changed, And through that song, and Zeppelin and good old Robert, and said, no, the singing doesn't stop here.
Yeah.
You can.
You can go on.
You can get up, And it was tough in those days. There was so many bands in Newcastle. Honestly, there had to be more than 200, and I'm putting a figure on it, but everybody wanted to play. We had the working men's clubs to do it, and now these working men's clubs were tired of the comedians and the jugglers. They wanted to hear good music and rock and roll. And we were there, so it was fantastic.
Was that the kind of changing point for you? Was that where you could chuck in the job? Or?
Yeah, for me, I knew that I could do something here, if I got the right songs and things like that and in the right situation. I knew I'd be good enough to get to a certain point. Not that I was fabulous, I didn't think that. Just good enough not to be embarrassed with good musicians. And that was very important to me,
That's an important thing, isn't it? Good enough, as you said, good enough not to be embarrassed when you're working with proper musicians. That's a big thing to achieve.
I didn't want to walk in and be the big star, and hey, listen to this. But I've always said, I'm one of the lads in a band. I hate it when people say, hey, what's it like being a rock star and front man? I'm going, woo, I'm not. I'm one of the boys. It's a band. People keep forgetting that,
Yeah.
So, sorry, but I was being strong on that, you know?
I think you're right. Absolutely right. Elvis next, Jailhouse Rock.
Elvis has to be the handsomest man on the planet. One of the greatest rock and roll. He invented it. You can't not have him on there. Like opening the Bible and not having Genesis. That's just not worth it. It's nothing there. You know, it's a void. And this man made it something just by his very presence. And I still love the old black and white footage, and again, if you look at it and you see him on that fairground, how does he do that? I mean, his voice is, it's pure. Jailhouse Rock for me was the first time I'd heard this. He was using his voice as almost like a guitar strumming thing, you know. You didn't even know what he was talking about, but boy, it sounded good. You know, it was just my hero, really, for a long, long time. You know, it went pear-shaped, but boy, oh boy, if you had a decent manager and great guys around him, how long that guy could have started knocking out just momentous songs, you know. But yeah, old Elvis has to be there on my list, just has to be there, and as has Jailhouse Rock. Rocky Mountain is one of my favourite of all-time songs. Joe Walsh is one of my bestest friends, and he's the funniest, loveliest man I think I've ever met in my life. We had a wonderful time together at Wembley at the Taylor Hawkins kick. I was on the side, I was hitting the gun, and this is Joe, you know. There's 100,000 people there. There's people, his band, the James Gang, there's roadies, there's crew, and I just stood, I knew I was going to go on in a couple of minutes, and he was coming off, and he said, "Brian Johnson, now I know the night's going to be all right." He gave us the biggest hug. And
that was great.
"Hello, Joe, you all right, me son?" And it's lovely the way, you know, we keep in touch a lot now. And, you know, and I should not say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is the fact when the Eagles come out, brilliant. We all love the Eagles, of course we do. But you look at the audience, every time Joe just shipped in his chair. No. I think Joe's gonna get up and sing. and he's getting quite mischievous. You know, Joe O'Brien, I got the greatest backing band in the world. he's a cheeky little monkey. Yeah. But he's just the straightest, honest, truest man. And this song, if you listen to the lyrics, it's just so pure and beautiful. He's so honest. The solo in the middle of it was groundbreaking because I'd never heard anything like it. And Joe was just trying it for the first time. And you could play this song for the next 40 years. That's why I'm picking these songs.
Well, here's another one that falls right into that category. Sultans of Swing, Dire Straits.
Yes, Mark, you know, it's Geordie, so there is an excuse here, you know, we've got an excuse. Mark is Geordie boy, and, you know, and me and him and Jimmy Nail, and, well, a bit of a gang. Not a very good one, but no, but it's the same thing again, the same thing. There was mediocrity knocking around. You know, it's like 1979, 78, I cannot remember, but there's rock out there, but it's getting a little softy, and everything's just way too comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody's going to answer the front door, not with that knock. You know, nothing's happening. Yeah. And then this thing comes out. It feels like blues or jazz or rock or what? What is this song? I'd call Mark. Where's he from? Newcastle. Get the hell out of here. You know, this is my real world. This is what happened to me. And I'm going, that's fantastic. The trouble with Sultans of Swing, you can't put it down. Which is a strange way to explain a song. I mean, the intricacies in there, but it's not just that, and the way he sings it with this lovely held back and makes it exciting at the same time. His wonderful band, let's not forget the wonderful band, is doing stuff that, orchestra guys are just going, that's pretty good. And,
the technique is absolutely
the technique is fantastic, and it's all from here, right from the heart. And the fingers follow, and it's wonderful. I just want to hear it again and again. Roy Orbison is an enigma to me. I mean, here's a man who sings and doesn't move his mouth. If you think, Ken, in dreams.
Yeah. And he didn't move his body either.
Doesn't
do anything.
And that song, I mean, first of all, it's just absolutely beautiful. And it builds until you go, well, he can't go any higher. And he does. And that's when you say, that's just not fair. What is this man doing? And I've got to tell you, Ken, it was very, very difficult to pick a song with the Roy Orbison. There is so many fabulous ones, but I think in Dreams it was just so pure. And my lucky life during the years, I met some lovely people, and some of the lads that were in the Wilburys with him, and he was the gaffer of that genre. But wasn't anybody else,
No, that's right.
And when you hear the joy in the Wilburys in the last song, the last single he did and all that, and you could see the smiles on Harrison's face, and even Dylan was smiling. Yeah. That could have been wind. But it just brought so much joy, and he was wonderful.
Yep, absolutely wonderful. Tell us about the latest AC/DC news. What's the situation?
Well, it's been a little hard for us all because of the pandemic, and of course our boys are at the other end of the world, and they wouldn't let anybody out until a couple of months ago. And when you do want to get out, well, you can't do anything because all the crews and all the bands and all the trucks are already taken up by it's only so many people can service tours. So, as you know, we brought an album out a couple of years ago, which we were thrilled, with, and we were all ready. We were in Amsterdam, we're rehearsing, and this is it, it's a band, let's get going. And so it was cruel.
Yeah.
But I think it took everybody by surprise. We were put in this geographical, swamp.
Yeah. But, as you said, you were singing at the Taylor Hawkins concert just a few weeks ago, and that went well. That was huge.
It was probably the happiest night, for a long time. After losing my hearing completely in the left side and 25% left in the right, I didn't think anything else would happen. But thankfully I started working with this man called Stephen Ambrose, who's like one of these mad genius guys. I love mad geniuses. You can borrow money from them and never pay them back. Anyway, and he invented these inflatable ears. Yeah. And we developed them. It was 2 years of sitting in the house with him, and then, oh my God, I was bored. So then came the big day the other night. He said, Will, do you think these will work? Now I'm talking 100,000 people. So I said to Davy Grohl, I said, Davy, I'll give it a shot, man. And I just do it. And I got to tell you, Ken, it was a mighty feeling just to say, as soon as I opened my mouth and I heard it, there was a big, wonderful release, and I came off and I was happy. We realise now we can help other people with hearing issues, not just musicians, but round the world, with these new cutting-edge technology hearing aids, and it's good to be part of that.
Yeah.
We had a couple of whiskies.
Right.
After that.
Just a couple. That is a great thing. And as you say, will help so many other people.
Ah, yes. That's what we're rooting for, my son, know.
Fantastic. And, of course, you're writing The Lives of Brian. Your autobiography is out now. You've done a lot of writing before, but this is the full story, is it?
Well, not really. I couldn't be bothered. I gave up halfway through. No. And now it's I just wrote up to the point where the boys asked me to join, and then I stopped there because that's not my story.
Right.
That's somebody else's story, you know, from the band, you know.
Well, you've given us a few hints of what a great life it's been. Even if AC/DC hadn't happened, it'd been a great life up to that point. Fantastic.
Fun.
One more track. Tina Turner, Nutbush City Limits.
It speaks for itself, you know, that voice. And when I went for the audition, well, it was, you know, a tryout.
Yeah.
It was never classed as an audition. I said, come along and have a sing with the boys from AC/DC, and they were in Vanilla Studios. And my band in Newcastle were doing Nutbush City Limits at a time, and it was one of the crowd's favourites. It's so powerful, you need everything. You can't half sing Nutbush, you know. and the boys started joining in, and the drums, you know, just this little run-through thing. It was magic.
Yeah. Magic in the air.
It was something. Yeah. So that's why it's important to me, Ken, that song. You know, it changed my life that day in 1980. And so that's why it was kind of real personal for me, too.
And that's how that huge chapter in your life began.
Yes, it certainly did.
Yeah,
certainly did.
One great voice, interpreted by another great voice. Brian, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thanks so much for choosing us.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks, everybody.